Hello and welcome. Today is Saturday, the 22nd day of July 2017. My name is Derek, and let's take a look at the Bitcoin and other alternate cryptocurrencies. They will be NEM, BitShares, SiaCoin, Lisk, Game Credit, Strat, Steem, and Clam. Those ones I'll go over after the Bitcoin. And within what I call this a game, it's recognizing and understanding the situation. So what do I recognize? What do I understand here? Well, part of the story as it goes, because that's what I like to make this out of. Tell myself a story on the movement. And it was very, very interesting back in the original hard fork days, and I think there's similar stuff within it now, but the selling came to a conclusion and the beautiful rally. Markets, they're going to need to correct sometimes quickly, short term, which was the case in here and here. Those were some short term corrections. But over the past many weeks, it has been going sideways and now even more short term within the movement that occurred just a few days ago, where it broke down below this point and has since followed with the failed move, fast move to the upside. Failed move, you break a very key level of support, or key level, in this case going down, such as support. You get those losses back relatively quick. You come back to your previous trading range, and there's your fast move. What I see within this situation, after that move, it had a very small down day. 2400 key support, key support. And again, it can still be such if it's going to roll over and still be bullish, but a follow through, getting yesterday's losses back, or in most cases, it's got most of them back thus far. This is a very, very bullish pattern. And when I look at probability odds of a decent break above here and a gain of at least several $100 in comparison to, say, going down to 2,000, much more likely of the former. And that's because of this bullish pattern that I am looking at. Now let's shorten this out, bring this to the 4-hour time frame. And since it got going, what has the 18 average done along the way? Well, I found the support a little bit in here after the first amazing leg higher. A lot of times markets will come back to where it came from. Well, within this support test, it didn't even come close to coming back to where it came from, because 1, 2, 3 large periods higher, and it really didn't correct much, making it more difficult to come back to that key point. Now, it did come back to this area in which it came from. And then since that point, since leaving the band, well, it's still doing that. It's kind of finding support very short term amongst this 18 average of high. So it's having gains not as wild or as volatile as it did the first time higher. And you can make the case that breaking this very key level in at the 29 area, that you could probably see a high chance that the bigger green candles will start to accumulate when you are riding north of the 3,000 handle. But definitely the bullish sentiment, to say the least. Let's shorten this out even a little further. Looking at such within the 30-minute time frame, and from the last high, a little north of the 2950 barrier, and you had the more bigger moves in here than you are currently, as that is very normal within the sideways correctionary moves. After an up move, you're consolidating a little bit through price and mainly through time. Failed move, fast move? Not really, but it did have a failed break around here, and it did manage to go higher. And even short term, you see a move like this, 2630 to 2870. in just a good part of about a day or so. Less than one day as far as 24 hours is concerned. and the move is close to 10%. That's pretty decent volatility in my book anyway. And this area of support is representing this area of resistance. So short term, holding well. Some people might call this a bull flag, but it's you go up, you go sideways, and momentum is obviously carrying this market higher right now. Let's take a look at some of the alternate coins. NEM will be the first one, which is up about 12.5% or a little over 17% against the dollar. But we're looking at this priced against Bitcoin. And a nice up day, higher low. Do I want any part of this right now? No, not even close, not even maybe. But what do I see? What's the situation? Well, after this downtrend that has had several resistance hits within this 18, it's going a little sideways. That's something that it didn't do this time. It did a little bit of it in here, but that's what the first step I need to see in the reversal of trend. Is this band going sideways? Furthermore, I need to see it break it and establish resistance. And right here isn't high enough from where the 18 average is. I kind of want to see somewhere in this area here as the most best area. If it cuts it short, then it's not really a break above the the 18 average. And if it goes much higher, then that's just not fun. But you know what? That'll happen too. But usually what I'm looking for is a move up here. Show me a pattern later on to say that it's worth going long, or the conditions are nearby to go long. And also because I know how well the support is, I can start to realize that if it has maybe some sort of rally up a little bit here and it ultimately fails, that it'll give me a good indication to how I'll calculate the Fibonacci. But for the most part, it's the big lows to the big highs. And when you have a move like this, you're looking for a 61.8% down move. And these charts are not that good for logarithmic, but the lows in around 320 on the breakout low. The high is in and around 14,000. So therefore, the first support level should have come in around 57.39, which is right here. So that's been very much to a justified area. And the level below that is 33.06. And I would expect it pierce below or extra, so probably a little north of 3,000 is where it would ultimately go, I think, if it falls. But for now, I need to see a setup come into play because this one doesn't have it yet. But it's getting closer with a sideways action anyway. BTS with a similar story as the next one, and similar as in it's a terrible logarithmic chart. It has only corrected a 23.6% down move with this 5,000 support area. And its price action, well, I don't want to be a buyer with a declining 18 average. Now, this is enough when you break above it to state, well, it's going to bands flatten out. The question is this big enough above the band to say that's established resistance? It's close. A little bit bigger would be nicer, but definitely, again, something to look for better signals within such. Maybe you can consolidate within this area for a week or so and give us, or give myself or us, if you were looking yourself, for better signals. As far as its Fibonacci is concerned, the 76.4 is 66.55. And below that, we're looking at 36.40. And of course, this one pierced below. So I would, again, think around 3,000 as an area for potential support. But again, I want to look for this thing to just settle in a little bit more. A lot of these other charts are going to show the very similar story as we move forward. Don't know why this one is limited in data. This is Sia coin. But declining 18 average, it is a second test at this resistance area level, south of 400, north of 350. And I need to see the same thing like the other ones. I need to see this setup come into play, band flattening out. Okay, well, that steps in play. Established resistance, I'd like to be somewhere around here if it's going to break through. But again, something I want to keep an eye on for a possible reversal. And because it's strengthened this support, if I see weakness, then I'll know that I can safely put buy orders in at the correct spots below here and have a good shot at a positive yield. LSK is next, and same thing within this 18 average. The band is flattening out. It's been a while now since this low, enough time where a couple of higher lows have come into play, yet this established, not breakout resistance, but this established resistance from the first attempt from the low area is in play again. So the next break of this, probably in the area of this major support, and that would be the area I'd also be looking for the established resistance breakout point, because with a lot of these charts, I'm looking for a decent move to the upside, not too small, not too big, just like the those bears where they want the porridge not so hot, not so cold. I feel the exact same way. And then you come back to this area, show some strength back a higher, and that's the type of pattern that I'm looking for. Let's move on to game credits, which is next. And this is a situation on the daily chart in which band was trying to flatten out, I guess. Not really, but it was in that process. And today's session, breaking past this short-term resistance, getting above the 18 average, but establishing resistance, because this is basically not too high, not too low. I wanted to retrace a little bit further. This is where I like to shorten the time frame out. Let's do such. And there has been a little bit of correction within this 4-hour time frame, as we can see that this low is a pierce above here and a match to this previous one. However, it is still above the 18 average of highs on both the daily and this time frame. What I would like to see for a better setup situation is for maybe another couple of days of going sideways within this level and then showing me a good situation where if I know it breaks a key point probably in here, that it would be a good opportunity. But at this stage right now, I would not be chasing this at this time frame. Moving on to strat, which stage 1, band flattened, step 2, resistance being established, pretty much at the perfect area where you would hope, or I expect, I rather should state, previous major support. So then, what I'd be liking to see is a move back down this level that can coincide with the most recent resistance, as well, of course, this 18 average, and then move on to its next step as far as regaining some bullish correctionary move after it does something, like, yeah, after it comes back in here and then shows some strength. That's when good long positions can come into play. But when it's at this stage, well, you could end up getting a failed breakout. That's in play. You could have what I talk about, correct a little bit, and then go higher, your normal situation. Sort of like in here, you go up, you go sideways, and then there's your spot, breaking resistance. So you're looking for a pattern like that to come into situation. And then this thing could just keep going higher right now. I mean, there's nothing stopping it other than, of course, sellers, but it's something that I've seen very often too. You're looking for the setup and you want to go long, not now though, and boom, it goes up. Yeah, I wish I would have went long then. But yeah, I just wanted to go over that part. And 2 more to go, Steam and Clam. So let's look next at Steam. And it's up today about 16+%. It is at its high for the session and for many days, as it's back to this previous level of support. Stage 1, band flattened. Stage 2, established resistance. That's basically the minimum I'd want it to go to. And I still don't mind it even going up closer to 70 as the established resistance, although I'd rather upwards closer to 65. Either way, that's where that next stage is in place. So just like the previous chart, Same three situations that can come into play. And I'm looking for a better buy setup. So let's finally look at clam. And this is in a situation in which we've seen some resistance falling from in here as this last leg lower has come into play, but several days now going sideways, an uptrend, and even a downtrend. I guess you can call it a symmetrical triangle. It's coming down to one of those points where a big move should happen soon. Short-term momentum looks like it might have what it's needed to go higher. Well, let's shorten this baby out a little bit to the 4-hour. And in this time frame, we can see clearly it's not so much short-term of a symmetrical triangle, but really an ascending. We have the resistance at the area it's at now, but several noticeable higher lows. So there's really three ways you can look at this because you like the pattern for buying. One is you just buy now. The price is 166 change because you feel it's going to break and go much higher, that if I get in at 166 and I see the price in the 20s, that's a pretty decent gain, and it is. Number two is you wait for further strength, moving up higher. It costs you more, but you get more reliability for getting the winning play, as well as you can oftentimes like buy here, sell here, and you do that like 2 hours later or whatever 6 short time. That's very common. And then you have the situation, well, I like this pattern, but I don't want to pay 166. Maybe I'm going to try to get it in here. So you put a buy order there, or maybe you want to see a bit better of the pattern. Maybe I want to see it go down, then start to lift off higher, maybe buy here, or whatever. But these are just different things to point out. The three main situations between buying now, buying on the short-term pullback, and then buying when you see the breakout, as they all have its own risks. Because you can just buy now, this thing tops, and next thing you know, you're buying near a key high point. Same thing pretty much when you buy on a buy order here, other than a little bit lower, a little bit cheaper in price. And yeah, so that will be it for the video. I'd like to thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.